Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today I have a video for you guys, another one that was requested. This one titled, Could Sasuke defeat the Akatsuki? Now last time we saw a video called, Could Naruto defeat the Akatsuki? So it felt only natural that we would go on to watch a video centered around the second main character of the series, that being one Sasuke Uchiha, and whether or not he could defeat the Akatsuki. Let's go ahead and watch the video. I'm not going to waste any more of your time. Let me just get my headphones on, and there we go. Okay. Let's go ahead and watch the video.
Hey, how's it going, everybody? Swag Kage here, and today, with me, I got my good pal, my good buddy, my friend, my wife, my husband, Seth the Programmer.
Hello.
So today, we're gonna be taking a look at a
Uchiha video, but with other people.
it's like a thing. Like I guess it's like a follow-up to like a thing that I did a couple times in the past. Like Could this guy beat the Akatsuki videos all like popped off like a lot. People seem to really like them. But the thing is, this isn't going to be the same because it's not like, could this guy beat them all at the same time? It's more like, could this guy beat them at all at different points?
Yeah, like where does he scale to individuals at what time, right?
I mean,
Okay,
maybe we could talk at the
to,
end.
The background music that they have, I don't know if this is copyright music at all, so I'm gonna have to play it safe. Just lower the volume.
If EMS Sasuke could do it, could run the whole gauntlet. Well, no, because Itachi's there, but
Yeah, Obito's, yeah.
But well, yeah, there's not really any Sasuke in between. Like, Sasuke either gets stomped by the whole group or stomps the whole group. It sucks.
So, I mean, let's just clarify.
Yeah.
Part 1 Sasuke probably doesn't win.
No, not even close.
For the most part, like, Hidan probably still mops him. You know, like, during the Land of Waves, if Hidan showed up, Hidan would probably smoke him up, you know. During the Chunin exams, probably the same thing. Hidan's probably soloing, you know. I don't think Sasuke was Bijou level during the Garo fight either.
No.
Yeah.
He seemed pretty shook. I wouldn't say he's necessarily like Bijou Jinchuriki level even during the Final Valley either. So I think we can all agree part 1 doesn't necessarily scale. So we kind of just have to start with Start of Shippuden, which is kind of where the characters where they're trained up and are able to start contesting against the Akatsuki.
Gotta pause every now and then since it's showing clips from the anime. Even worse, it's from one of the openings. So let's pause for a second. Okay, there we go.
Right. So yeah. So we have Start of Shippuden, but the problem with Start of Shippuden is that there's kind of like 2 versions of it. There's like actual start of Shippuden, and then there's Start of Shippuden after he absorbs Orochimaru.
Yeah.
And they're kind of the same, but it's implied that Sasuke might have like greater stamina or recovery or like poison resistances with Orochimaru that make things a little bit different. So, yeah.
Yeah. The poison resistance specifically is going to be relevant here in a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
with a certain
Sasori.
Puppet Man.
So, I mean, I think right off the bat, we can just say it, is that Start of Shippuden Sasuke probably loses not only to Sasori, but Deidara as well. So, like, the reason I say that is because he basically, like, almost, like, near-death diffed, like, Deidara.
Yeah, it was like a .05 out of 10.
With
like,
Orochimaru's chakra or power or stamina absorbed. So, like, just imagine him with, like, less durability, less stamina and resistances versus Deidara, and it's like, he probably doesn't win, considering it was almost a draw with those amps. And then Sasori, I've talked about this before, but his speed feats are even more insane than Deidara. Like, obviously he's able to he's able to fight people stronger and faster than the Gaara.
The thing is, it is kind of difficult to say because, you know, we don't really have a lot of information when it comes to like I said, Orochimaru buff Sasuke. The only fight we know, the only fight he was in was the one against Team 7, which he absolutely destroyed them. But the thing is, we still don't know what he was fully capable of, because it was kind of implied in that fight that he wasn't really taking them all that seriously. He was kind of just playing around with them. And, you know, this is one thing that I did find kind of disappointing, is that after he got the Orochimaru buff, he was really only in one fight. And like they said, he nearly died in that fight, which I'm not gonna lie was kind of disappointing because the first real fight he was involved in post time skip, and he basically nearly dies, which did kind of take away from the Sasuke hype, if I'm being honest.
He ripped Datara's arm off with his fast sand. So now imagine that, but with like instant death, poison,
Yeah,
and
that's like the big thing, right? And it's not like well, I don't know, man. You might be giving a Sasori like it's not like Sasori has to touch Sasuke. It's more like Sasori has to use like the third Kazekage puppet. Like he can manipulate sand, right? The same way Gaara can, except it's even better. Like he has the best sand in the whole series.
magnet sand,
and it's all coated with instant death poison. Like,
and he can control it as well. A lot of people don't know that.
Yeah.
People think like he just shoots like a blast or something. No, he can actually change the trajectory of these bullets mid-air, and he actually does this in the anime. Like an Edo Tensei version in the anime that Orochimaru makes actually uses these bullets and changes their trajectory to like hunt down Datara mid-air and like shoot down his clay like puppet or whatever, or his clay like jutsu. So that's exactly what he would do to Sasuke, except it would arguably be faster than what Gaara already used to rip Datara apart anyway.
the third Kazekage was stated to be the strongest Kazekage, of course, as well.
Yes.
Stronger than the Gaara that fought Datara. I believe that there's also a statement that that makes it clear that the third Kazekage was stronger than Gaara in the Fourth War as well, but I don't remember that.
He's stronger than Rasa, and during the war, Rasa's like sand was like traveling at like relative speeds to Gaara. Like,
yeah.
And then it's implied that Gaara beat Rasa by attacking the other Edo Tenseis, and when his Edo Tensei automatically went to defend them, then he was caught off guard by Gaara attacking from below, kind of. So like, it wasn't like necessarily like he wasn't strong enough to fight Gaara. It was more like a strategic assault. But when they actually did clash, it was implied their waves were like kind of relative.
Yeah.
And then of course the third Kazekage is just greater. We even see Chiyo in the war dodge a KCM Shadow Clone Rasen Shuriken. And this KCM Shadow Clone is fighting not sick Kimimaru, who's almost at full power. And then Orochimaru's like, yeah, if he wasn't sick, we would have like no diffed the third Hokage, who's the strongest Hokage at the time. Like, so these are pretty relevant statements, I feel. And then on top of that,
well, like the other thing too about the third Kazekage is like I don't think people like get how strong Sasori has to be, like, because like he killed the third Kazekage without that puppet, like on hand, like he had to turn the third Kazekage into the puppet, so he didn't have it when he assassinated him. So like this had to be just like mother and father puppet having Sasori, or maybe he used performance of 100 puppets or whatever.
Maybe,
I don't know.
Was he a puppet at that point? I don't know.
Yeah, he was. He converted himself into a puppet a while ago.
Yeah, so maybe his puppet body is just even superior to that.
Yeah.
There you go. So like, not only does he have the third Kazekage, like who he scales above, like he himself is then just greater than that puppet as well. So
like Sasuke would basically, like, he struggled against Datara, who was roughly equal to Gaara, who was weaker than a guy that Sasori is like effectively two of.
Yeah, and then the only downplay I know of for sure is just Sakura stuff, but we know Sasori wasn't going all out in that fight. But Sakura herself is actually kind of downplayed because Sakura has like this scaling where all of her training with Tsunade is basically her learning how to be agile and avoid things, because she's a medic, right? So she's not allowed to die as a medic, so she needs to be agile, and then learning the strength jutsu. So it might be heavily implied that Naruto couldn't perform the same thing she did, and it's obviously arguable if Sasuke could as well at that point. So it's like, because that's specifically what Tsunade trained her for, whereas Orochimaru and Jiraiya didn't train their students specifically to be agile in that way, or evasive, which is what she was doing. So even if you did somehow argue that Sasori was going all out at one point, which he never went all out versus Sakura ever, because when he did get his actual body, he wasn't trying anymore. But even if you did imply that, you would just say, okay, well, Sakura's only scaling is being evasive towards Kakashi and Sasori. That's all we know about her, and that's her training. So it's
well,
not,
she was
it's not
also
an
being amped by Chio too at multiple points throughout that fight. So
yeah, and she was like adapting and like learning as well while the fight happened. So
yep.
yeah, and then the next time we see her fight, she's like going ham in the war. So
Yeah, like doing like nuke punches and stuff.
yeah, not really an anti-feat. So yeah, and then of course, then it's just like, okay, well, could the Orochimaru cell Sasuke take Sasori because he wouldn't get poisoned? And once again, I think this is more. This is if Deidara is like Gaara level, give or take, which he might not be, like, but it was implied that Gaara was fast enough to rip him apart.
The thing about that fight, and this isn't like headcanon-y either. I think it's like, I think there was a lot that was like intentionally put into the fight to convey the idea that Gaara was actually stronger than Deidara, but Deidara took advantage of Gaara's concern for the Sand Village. Like, Deidara literally tried to blow up the whole village, and Gaara had to spend a ton of chakra. Like, the guys actually start sweating just trying to make this barrier to make sure nobody dies. And like, Deidara is just being really dirty and slimy throughout the fight. So
Pulling some like Frieza versus Goku shenanigans, basically. Yeah.
So you could very easily argue that Gaara should have won that fight, and like, so Deidara might be even weaker than that.
Although,
and Sasori would still be like stronger than would still be stronger than Gaara.
In Deidara's defense, he does have a lot of hacks abilities he didn't use versus Gaara, but I think when we're talking about just raw power scaling here, which is like the speed, the attack potency, you know, no hacks, then Sasori is just faster than Deidara, who was contending with Sasuke, which is the only point necessary. Yeah, maybe Deidara could have done better with his hacks against Gaara, but we're just talking about raw speed kind of scaling.
Yeah,
how Sasori
Gaara demonstrated multiple times he was physically superior. So
yeah, which is what Sasori scales above. So Sasori would also be able to physically contend or outdo Sasuke, right? That's what.
This next one is gonna be where we enter like contentious edgy town.
Before that, he clearly beats Hidan, right?
Yeah.
Hidan is like the pretty much self-proclaimed weakest, slowest, whatever. So if he's fighting Deidara, he's fast enough to fight Hidan. Probably could just Genjutsu him as well. Genjutsu, just delim him. That's it. So yeah, pretty easy for Hidan. But anyway, go ahead.
Next, let's talk about Kakazu.
Okay. Yep, we're going to Pound Town. The bird cage.
So
we think Sasuke would win.
Okay, so this is more like narratively based than like feat based, right? Because Kakazu is actually pretty beastly, for the most part. So he could like tank attacks from like a Minato level Rasen Shuriken and not instant die.
Keep in mind, Kakuzu didn't die from that hit. He was still alive. Kakashi's the one who killed him near the end. Just keep that in mind. I feel like there are people out there who might downplay Kakuzu as to how powerful he was. Remember, he took that blow and was still alive. Keep that in mind.
Fight Kakashi, who then would go on to fight Tendo Pain pretty close, in close proximity. But the problem with Kakazu here is more like there's like a narrative struggle. So like feat-wise, if I was in a debate, I'd probably say Kakazu would win. But like if I'm just being like honest, I would say that I think there's an implication that Naruto felt inferior to Sasuke to the point where he felt like he had to solo Kakazu, and even then he was still struggling to convince himself he was on Sasuke's level.
Yeah, like Kakashi states verbatim that like that's what drove Naruto, and like Naruto's still trying to catch up to Sasuke and still hasn't done it. And it's like it's not like he's measuring himself up against some like unquantifiable unknown enemy, right? Like he literally just fought Sasuke and got obliterated, so he knows how strong Sasuke is. And this Sasuke was, by the way, slightly weaker than the one who would be fighting Kakazu here. So
And
I think it's it's easy to infer from that Sasuke, and I don't know, it just feels like a fight that Sasuke would be able to approach and win.
he's like ultra lightning style guy.
Yeah.
He has his ultimate Rasen Shuriken like jutsu, which is Kirin.
Kirin, yeah.
Literally like a counter to
I think-
Kakuzu's durability.
Yep.
If I remember correctly, isn't it stated that Kirin is probably the strongest lightning jutsu that exists? Because it isn't a lightning style jutsu that, you know, uses a change in chakra nature. This is an ability that, well, actually, in a way it does, but it's an ability that uses lightning from nature in and of itself. You know, it's not utilized from using your own chakra and then just molding it to take the properties of lightning. No, it's lightning from nature itself, which makes it even more powerful. So it's just, yeah, I personally, I don't think Kakuzu's surviving that, if I'm being honest. I mean, Itachi even said that if I didn't have the Susanoo, if I didn't have the Yaramir, I would be dead if it wasn't for the Susanoo. Itachi himself admitted this.
It's heavily implied that Sasuke was ready for his final thematic battle in the Akatsuki, which was Itachi, and then Naruto was not ready for his, which was Pain, right?
Yeah.
So Naruto needed an extra mile for Pain, which was Sage Mode. Obviously, Naruto then surpasses Sasuke, so no, I'm not saying Sage Naruto is equal to the one that fought, Sasuke that fought Itachi. It's actually implied that Naruto did surpass him because Itachi was suppressed, he wasn't trying, whereas Pain was, right? But it is implied that Sasuke has finished more of his development than Naruto has, and Naruto, when he uses his ultimate attack against Kakuzu, it's only 50% complete, actually. It's actually 50% power, so even versus Kakuzu, he hasn't fully finished it, so the whole thematic that he hasn't reached Sasuke's level is pretty consistent, but I would agree that, like, feat-wise, you could probably argue Kakuzu still, like, takes it, I think, pretty well.
Yeah.
But I think if you're considering that theme, then I would put Sasuke above Kakuzu.
Yeah, like the main thing about Kakuzu is his durability, and
Which,
you know, like Kakashi's lightning blade just like deleted it.
pierces it no problem.
Well,
Because
so here's another thing.
it uses, what a lot of people don't know is this is basically an earth style technique, and they did say that earth style is weak to lightning. So, or wait, no, is it? Yeah, earth loses to lightning, lightning loses to wind, wind loses to fire, fire loses to water, water loses to earth, and then earth loses to lightning, and so on and so forth. Yeah, okay, I remember.
Kakashi's lightning blade, and
Okay, moving forward. Yeah, there
so
we go.
here's another thing. We're gonna get into this a bit more, in another video on Seth's channel. But we were talking earlier about like genjutsu and stuff, and so like Itachi was able to put like all of
Shugaru, that's his name.
yeah. Shugaru's bugs. This like Aburame guy, all of his bugs under a genjutsu at the same time. And this Itachi was like a little kid, you know, a little baby mode. So it stands to reason that Sasuke might be able to do the same thing with Kakuzu's masks. And I believe that like Itachi was able to turn the bugs against Shugaru.
Yeah.
So like if Sasuke could just like steal Kakuzu's masks and be like, no, these are mine now. They're on my team. They're fighting for me. That'd be pretty.
Yeah, it would be
bad
kind
for
of
Kakuzu,
bye-bye to
obviously.
Kakuzu.
Now that's a lot more. That's venturing quite a bit into a hypothetical what-if town, but you know it's possible.
I just think it's implied that Sasuke with his Curse Mark 2 is like high Akatsuki level and just raw strength. And then with his just jutsu arsenal, he's just able to damage Kakuzu. Like, he just has his weakness, right? He has the Kirin jutsu that Zetsu's like, holy hell! Like, and then, you know, as it blasts down, even though he's seen, you know, Kakashi's lightning blade,
And
he's seen Sasuke's Chidori.
For anyone who thinks that anyone in the Akatsuki could avoid this, keep in mind, if you now again, I know this was anime only, which does kind of it does kind of suck that we don't see Sasuke use this ability more. And I know some people might say, well, this is an ability that requires a lot of prep time. Well, yeah, but you would think that at this point Sasuke could have easily overcome that weakness, but I guess not. Anyway, remember, again, this was anime only, but he used it against Naruto, and Naruto was in six path sage mode at the time. Who could his sensory ability was so powerful, he could sense something that was literally in another dimension, and he could avoid it no problem. But he couldn't avoid Kirin. That's how fast this thing moves. Keep that in mind. So yeah, I don't think anyone in the Akatsuki could evade Kirin if Sasuke manages to actually be able to pull it out. I don't think even Pain, with his almighty push and pull or whatever, could avoid it, because he wouldn't be able to activate it in time.
He's seen all these changes in lightning nature, but he thinks the Kirin is just absolutely monstrous, right? Like,
Yeah.
so it does stand to reason that it probably would actually hurt Kakuzu, and that would be like his Rasen Shirk, and that would finish him off, kind of thing. But
Well, and another thing too, yeah, you mentioned Curse Mark 2. When Naruto was comparing himself to Sasuke, do you think he was even thinking about Curse Mark 2? Because he fought base Sasuke and got bodied.
well, he probably so he fights base Sasuke, but he probably knows what the Curse Mark feels like, so maybe he just like assumes what it's like or something. He's seen the Curse Mark activate like a few times, I believe, but yeah, he probably
He saw
just
Curse
assumed.
Mark 2 once.
He probably just assumes that like Sasuke still has it. So also Sasuke like used Genjutsu that completely like negated his ability
Yes.
to start using the Nine Tails.
Yeah, so I actually think the thing that I was saying about
Yeah.
Sasuke's Genjutsu on Kakuzu's masks might be like real. Like it might actually be relevant.
Yeah.
Because like
Even then, even if you can't use them on the masks, like maybe you argue like the masks don't have any eyeballs.
Yeah.
So like maybe you just say like, well, he would just Genjutsu Kakuzu, and then Kakuzu would just negate his own mask or something.
like
You
the
know, like-
masks just fall to the ground.
Like, you know, like some Itachi gets hit by Kodo kind of thing. Like he just like breaks the control. Like I don't know.
Yeah.
Of the mask. So
I can easily see a case for Kakuzu winning based on feats, I guess, but it just feels a lot more like genuine and earnest to say, based on what it feels like Kishimoto was trying to say, that Sasuke would probably win.
right. However, I do not think that he would beat Kisame. So
Yeah. Kisame would go to town on him. Really
and that's for different reasons. Like, I would say power scaling wise, Kisame in base isn't even necessarily like heavily above Kakuzu or any of them really. It's more like his ability to grow stronger is what makes him kind of a threat. And there's not really any proof that Sasuke has the ability to take him to Pound Town before that really happens, right?
Well, because Kisame's durability is insane. He gets his chest ripped open and then just regenerates.
And he gets stronger the stronger his opponents get. So, for instance, when Sasuke goes Curse Mark 2 and starts shooting fire style or whatever, Kisame might absorb that enhanced chakra and actually just turn the tables, right? So, like, that's
Yeah.
like a big problem with Kisame. And Sasuke, while he is strong, it's implied that, like, Sannin level is where Kisame starts to fall off, because that's where, like, you get, like, perfect Jinchuriki B, you get, like, Raikage, you get, you know, Jiraiya, Tsunade, Orochimaru. That's kind of the level where it's implied Kisame kind of falls off, but Sasuke hasn't really reached that level quite yet, and that is actually implied by Sasuke himself later. So it wouldn't actually be that far-fetched to say, yeah, Kisame would just absorb his chakra and just overpower him or something.
Yeah.
The only thing I could really imagine is like maybe a Genjutsu argument, but even then, like, base Sharingan Itachi couldn't just Genjutsu Kisame.
Yeah.
He needed to whip out his
Okay, gotta pause again. Just
Gekyo to do something. And a canon scene, by the way, that generation scene is confirmed canon.
Yeah.
yeah, this isn't canon. This is from the game. What is it? Ultimate Ninja Storm? I think it was Storm 3, Storm Revolution, something.
So it's implied he needed his Mangekyo to take down Kisame. So Sharingan Itachi can't Genjutsu Kisame, but Sasuke can. Doesn't seem very genuine genuine to me. So, yeah, considering Itachi is the Genjutsu overlord and Sasuke.
The ordinary Sharingan a weapon, and a weapon can be either strong or weak depending on the ability of the person wielding it. Yes, thank you. Thank you. So the point is there are variance in strength that Sasuke's talent has exceeded Itachi's imagination. That is true. Yes, thank you. This is what I have been saying. Okay, it says it right there in the manga. I had someone in my comments telling me that, Sasuke utilizing the Rinnegan's abilities against Six Path's characters wouldn't work because, not because they think Six Path's characters are too strong for it. It's because their excuse, I'm not kidding, is that because if Nagato used the let's say Shinra Tensei against Naruto, Six Tails Naruto, and it didn't work, that means it obviously wouldn't work against Six Path's characters. No, because it depends on the person using it. Sasuke at that point in the story is way stronger than Nagato was back then. So it stands to reason that his Shinra Tensei would be stronger than Nagato's Shinra Tensei. Okay, and it's the same for any other ability. Like, for example, take Hokage Naruto against Minato. If both of them were to get into a Rasengan clash, I think it's kind of obvious that Naruto's Rasengan would win because Naruto has the stronger Rasengan. It's simple, but you'd be surprised how there are some people out there who just forget things.
Sasuke's only feat is really just defending against it, not even putting him under it.
And it's also, you could easily argue too that was not like a real feat because like Itachi was suppressed and holding back.
Exactly, yeah, exactly. So even that is like, yeah, it's really hard to scale. So considering Itachi thought, Kisame is probably gonna try to kill me, and he's not trying to hold back on him or anything, right? He's like, he just thinks they're sparring, like, whatever, he might try to kill him in this fight. So he's like, he probably whipped it out genuinely because he couldn't just like toy around with him.
Yeah.
Because he literally pointed at Orochimaru when they were kids, but he couldn't do it to Kisame for whatever reason. So I don't know what it is. Like, you might be able to imply Kisame might have known not to look Itachi directly in the eyes.
Yeah, he seemed pretty smart, so.
So maybe he already knew what Itachi could do. So maybe that's why Itachi needed to use his Mangekyo, because once you use your Mangekyo, you can kind of like bypass them looking in your eyes. You just look in their eyes, kind of thing. So
I think
if that's the case, then Kisame probably knows better than to look in Sasuke's eyes, which is how he would probably avoid it, which is what I'm assuming. So.
I mean, maybe some people might think that that's like cringe, like, oh, what do you mean? Deidara literally trained his eye to be immune to Genjutsu, and it still worked, and Sasuke still, I mean, like, whatever, then that just means Itachi's would have worked on Deidara too.
Yeah. And
Itachi didn't, like, he couldn't use his base Sharingan on Kisame, so.
Wasn't it implied that Deidara let his guard down, though?
Yeah,
yeah. So maybe Deidara just let his guard down, and that's why he got hit by it, but.
It's just implied that Itachi didn't think base Sharingan was enough. But, like, He doesn't whip out the Mangekyo for no reason. He's very hesitant to. He's clearly, like, regretting having to use a Amaterasu to burn through the toad, so it's not something he does for no reason. So, like you said, yeah, like, I agree with you. It probably was indicative of the fact that he had to.
Oh, we missed one, by the way. We missed Conan.
Yeah, Sasuke wins because she's, like, base Jiraiya level or whatever.
Base Jiraiya, like, loogied on her, and she couldn't dodge it.
I mean, like, I talked with Seth about this beforehand. She's fairly inconsistent because she also does have that feat where she like blows Obito up.
But you can just say that he was
not like the sea of paper bombs, like when they're like fighting. But he says he was holding back, so.
Exactly. So we think that it takes 5 Kage-sama to take down Kisame, if at all. I don't know. Swag was kind of like contentious on that, so we'll see.
I was just thinking about like the chakra absorption stuff, because like Amaterasu's obviously like GG, but then like if
could he absorb it?
If Kisame shoots his like shark Kamehameha and absorbs it,
would it? Okay, but would Amaterasu hit Kisame and then he would like absorb it like
Kaguya?
Like would it like would it just absorb off of his body with like Samehada, or like would it just?
Well, yeah, like Samehada can just like munch through like solid chakra, so maybe.
Yeah, like, so maybe we'll leave that up to the comments. Do you guys think Samehada could eat Amaterasu?
I don't think
But I definitely think that, like, that's where they're, like, relative,
Right. Because that's when Sasuke starts to hit Sannin levels. Anyway, that's where he starts to hit that next level. That's where he starts to encroach on like the level of Sage Naruto. He kind of bullies out the Raikage, who's Sannin level, or actually maybe even stronger.
Yeah.
And then so yeah, that's kind of where he would surpass him anyway, because his Susanoo alongside his Amaterasu makes it really hard for anyone to really do anything to him.
This is also where he would beat Sasori, by the way, like easily. Like if he doesn't win at start of Shippuden, then he definitely beats Sasori.
Because Sasori has no attack potency feats that can even damage the Susanoo at all.
Yeah.
No.
There's none.
And I mean, Sasuke's speed is insane at the 5 Kage Summit. So he's not faster than the Raikage, but his reaction time is higher. Like he's able to dodge the Raikage's attacks and stuff with Sharingan amps.
Not only is he extremely fast, fast enough to fight Killer Bee, who we've seen fight Kisame.
Yeah.
So he's stronger than the Sasuke who fought Killer Bee already, a lot stronger.
Yeah. By the way, same guy who's like on par with like KCM Naruto.
So he kind of bullies out the Raikage, who's arguably, at least early B, is stated to be stronger than full Eight Tails B, at least at the start when it's first shown. Maybe he gets stronger later. But when B is first shown, the Raikage is stronger than him. So then Sasuke bullies him out completely. So we know that Sasuke is stronger than a B. We've already seen kind of rip Kisame's chest open.
Yeah.
And then not only that, but he has the Mangekyo Sharingan, which can now bypass the need to look into Sasuke's eyes. So he can probably Genjutsu him. Kisame has no attack potency that can really like damage him like that.
Well, yeah, like keep in mind too, like the Raikage has like a medic, like Genjutsu specialist kind of guy as an aid in C.
Yeah.
And C gets obliterated by
Yeah,
Sasuke's
literally.
Genjutsu. Like his whole
Literally.
thing is he's like Genjutsu, you know, like medicine and stuff. Like he's like a high chakra control, like support kind of guy, and Sasuke just removes him from the equation with one look. It's crazy.
Right. He also fights. Not only does he fight the Raikage, but him and Suigetsu fight Raikage and Darui at the same time. And Darui's kind of a savage too. Like he fights against Kikaku and Gikuku, and he kind of like puts the moves on him a little bit.
Yeah, like maybe Tobirama level.
Yeah, maybe Tobirama kind of like might get the smoke. No, but for all seriousness though, like Kisame, it's kind of hard. It's kind of hard to argue that he would beat 5 Kage Summit, but like
Sasuke goes through the Raikage, and he would have won. The Raikage was about to land on Amaterasu and die, so Sasuke would have killed him. And
yeah,
then
it's arguable because it's arguable if the kick would have killed Sasuke through the Susanoo.
but the Raikage would have
But
died.
the
We saw him
Raikage
get
would have
damaged
died
by Amaterasu.
because he would have had to rip his leg off. Like, you know, it would have ripped it probably more. Like it was implied he's gonna throw his whole body into it. He probably would have just died. But
Yeah, I know. Like he was kind of leaning forward too, like a
so
fucking
unless he
dumbass.
pulls like a Madara and just takes his clothes off and he's fine,
just gets
probably would have
naked.
died. Yeah, but
Just gets
But yeah.
all the way naked.
and then we see he gets, you know, Sasuke gets even stronger. He evolves his Amaterasu even more. He then creates this Susanoo arrow technique.
Yeah.
But the thing that people don't know about the Susanoo arrow is that it literally can blitz people that were just fighting Sasuke before. Like, it's too fast to react to. Like, Danzo, and Kakashi cannot react to the arrow.
Yeah.
Kakashi only reacts to it with Mangekyo, which is like arguably a 3 times amp or something, whatever you want to say. And then Danzo just has to use like hacks, like just.
Yeah, it was so fast. They needed these hacks abilities just to be able to compete against them, and just to show you how fast these things actually are. Sasuke used them in the fight against Naruto, and Naruto had to sacrifice his truth-seeking orbs just to be able to stop them. Like that's how fast these things actually are.
Literally,
Respawn.
that's run on like GTA.
Which does kind of make me wonder why we never see Sasuke use it again. Just, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
Even though he could fight Sasuke before. So it's kind of like, could Kisame even react to this arrow at all? Like, could we even, you know, like...
And then there's Sasuke's stamina, which is like absurd because he goes through the Raikage, and like we said, he was gonna win, and then Gaara shows up, and it's at this point that he flees because he's like outnumbered by like Gaara and like the Raikage and stuff. But he gets away, and he like tussles with Gaara for a little bit, and then gets away, and then he fights the Mizukage, and Then, you know, he gets hit by Chojuro and, like, almost dies to the Tsuchikage. But, like, after all that, like, engaging all these people, he still fights Danzo.
You could say that he would have been able to avoid... where is it? Let me find it. Where is it? Yeah, I would argue he would have been able to avoid this if he wasn't already kind of exhausted. And if he wasn't suffering through the Mizukage's, what was her ability? The acid mist thing, which was melting the Susanoo skeleton. I do feel like he would have been able to avoid this and then attack the Tsuchikage.
To the Tsuchikage. But, like, after all that, like, engaging all these people, he still fights Danzo and kills him, like, 10 times.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. By the way, same Danzo who ripped out Shisui's eye. Anyway.
Blitz Shisui, yeah. Then after that, fights Kakashi, same Kakashi who fucking squared up with Tendo Pain, right? And Kakashi's pooping his pants. Kakashi's like, whoa, am I gonna die?
You know what's funny? You know what's funny? People think Kakuzu's really fast, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, at what point did Kakashi say, wow, if I didn't activate Mangekyo, that attack would have obliterated me. I couldn't even move. Like, when did Kakashi never said that about Kakuzu, but 5 Kage Summit.
Yeah.
There it comes in, right?
Yeah, so he fights Kakashi, pretty much nearly kills Kakashi, like almost no-diffs him, and then
while he's going blind, by the way.
And then is still prepared to fight Naruto with no Mangekyo at this point.
Yeah.
And like he when he leaves, it's just cause he's like Obito's like telling him to.
The same base Naruto who's kind of squaring up with like fatigue Tendo Pain as well.
The same base Naruto who killed Kakuzu.
yeah. 72
so, if
times.
You couldn't tell, if Kakuzu beats Shippuden Sasuke by feats, he does not beat Kage Summit Sasuke by feats.
In fact, I don't even think they scale.
Yeah, I don't think
not even close. Sorry.
So then we kind of get past that, and we kind of get into like the Itachi Pain range. Yeah. So I'll just kind of answer for Pain real quick. Pain is kind of a narrative thing because it's implied very heavily that Naruto did no training since Pain at all. All he's done is just walk the land of iron. Like, It was implied he was going to start training Sage Mode, but before he even activated it to train it, which he was only going to extend the durability of it, not even make it stronger, Sakura interrupts him. So he never even starts training at all. And then it's implied that him and Sasuke are gonna like still fight to the death or whatever. And that Obito thought that Sasuke could have given the 5 Kage Summit more smoke than he did, despite thinking he was weaker than Naruto. Meaning he thought Naruto in Sage Mode probably could have given the 5 Kage Summit more smoke than Sasuke did.
Yeah.
As well. And not only that, but then we get a scene where they're like, couldn't you have defeated Sasuke? And Naruto's like, oh, it's not like that. And then you're like, oh, well, maybe Naruto thinks he's weaker. But then we get a clarification, a very specific clarification where it's like, oh, Naruto, you weren't referring to strength. You were referring to Indra within his body. So it's like the author went out of his way to tell us that Naruto was not at all considering himself weaker to Sasuke in that encounter at all.
Yeah.
So it's like there's a very heavy implication that Naruto is still stronger than him, and then when he got EMS, then he's like, all right, maybe he's stronger now. But Pain is then superior to Naruto.
We've talked about this in plenty of videos before. Like Naruto, you guys can't see. I'm doing air quotes now. Won that fight, but like he robbed Pain, dude. Like he goes in with all this prep.
Again,
knows everything about Pain. Pain is fatigued, has just fought the whole village, loses instantly.
Still loses.
Pain bodies him. Gets a huge EM.
If it wasn't for this, Naruto basically lost. I'm sorry.
He also just fought Kakuzu level Kakashi and no diffs him.
Which actually, if you think about it, the only fight that Naruto technically truly won was against Kakuzu, because he didn't technically fight against Deidara. He fought kind of against Sasuke, got his ass kicked, Although you could say Naruto was kind of a little exhausted because he went through that Four Tails transformation, but I still don't think he would have won that fight, if I'm being honest. Even if he was 100% healthy. Because remember, Sasuke was not being serious through that fight. And then he fought against Kakuzu, and even then he didn't get the job done. Kakuzu was still alive. Although if you want to give him the win, okay, I can understand that. And then after that, he went on to fight... who was it? Who did he fight? Next after that, well, he didn't really have a fight. He after that, oh yeah, he fought against Pain, lost, and then only technically came out the victor because the Nine Tails interfered. The Nine Tails took over. If it wasn't for that, Naruto basically lost. That's it. And if you, I don't know if you want to count their fight after that as a Naruto win, because Naruto was 100% healthy. He came out with Sage mode, and Tendo Pain was already pretty damn exhausted. So I don't really count that as a win, even though technically, yes, he did win. I don't really count that. And then after that, you go into the war arc, and he fought against, what was it? His clone helped the 4th Division and technically helped win against the 3rd Raikage, so I guess you could give him that. But he fought Itachi and Nagato, which if Itachi didn't break out of the Impure World Reincarnation's control, then he basically lost. Like, seriously, if Itachi didn't break out of the using Koda Matsukami to break out of the control by Kabuto, Naruto and B technically lost that fight. And then moving on to the war arc, there wasn't really a specific one-on-one fight. It was more like a series of battles, and the win against Obito, when him and Sasuke were together against Obito, I still think that was mostly... I don't really count that because it made no sense narratively, because it logically Obito would have won that fight if Kishimoto didn't pull some BS, let's be honest. And then the fight with Madara, same thing. Kishimoto pulled some BS with the whole Zetsu thing. And then Kaguya, okay, fine. It wasn't technically Naruto's win. It was Naruto, Sasuke, Kakashi, and Sakura working together to allow Naruto and Sasuke to use the jutsu given to them by the Sage of Six Paths. Sorry, it was given to them by the Sage of Six Paths in order to win. And then his fight against Sasuke, which... I mean, okay, yeah, technically Sasuke did kind of admit defeat, but it wasn't because they, like, Naruto came out the victor over the battle. It was more so Sasuke just kind of gave up because he realized, all right, look, nothing I do is going to get this guy to leave me alone. So you know what, I might as well just give up. Just something that I kind of noticed when it comes to part 2, which is Naruto. Interestingly enough, the main character doesn't really have a lot of wins. The only other time I've seen that was with Dragon Ball, which Dragon Ball... A lot of the time, Goku, the main character, does not come out the victor. I mean, he did against Frieza, Gohan beat Cell, and then he beat Buu, but only after having help from other people, which it wasn't technically his win. And the other times, the one-on-one fights he won in early Dragon Ball was... I guess the fight against Tenshinhan, you could count that as a win. And then there was the fight against King Piccolo, or Piccolo Jr., excuse me, which he did technically win. But other than that, he lost against Muten Roshi, and then technically Tenshinhan, and then won against King Piccolo. Just something that I noticed.
Tails gets bodied by Chibaku Tensei. Minato comes back from the dead into Naruto's mind, seals the Nine Tails back, and like gives him back Sage Mode for a bit, and like restores all his chakra.
And then, dude, not only that, but he comes back with Sage Mode, right?
Yeah.
And Tendo Pain, he's literally bleeding from his nose, like his hair's like falling out because he's like running out of chakra. He's literally about to die.
Yeah.
He still beats Sage Mode, and Naruto has to fight him in base.
Yeah,
like,
and barely wins, right?
Barely.
Like it's like a Jackie Chun Goku moment, right? Like the last attack is gonna decide it, and Naruto gets it.
The same Naruto who with 3 shadow clones could hit Kakuzu with the Rasen Shuriken couldn't do it with 800 clones versus about to die Pain.
Yeah.
But yeah. anyway, yeah. I think there's a clear implication that 5 Kage Summit probably still isn't that level. 5 Kage Summit is more like Sage Naruto.
If even, right? Like if you're generous.
Yeah, and like maybe Sasuke is like hacks to fight Naruto, but in terms of like power scaling, that's not really the implication.
Like, even if Sasuke was stronger than Sage Naruto, like, I'll say it like this. Even if Sasuke was stronger than Sage Mode Naruto, he would still, like, probably do better than Naruto and just still lose. Because Naruto had a bunch of, like, help that Sasuke just wouldn't have. Like, plot armor, like,
People
50 feet.
really underestimate how much help Naruto had.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
He had so much help. And Pain wasn't even at full power either. Like, it's just so ridiculous how
Not
much
only
help
was he
had.
not in the Rain Village, but he was heavily powered down by the big Shinra Tensei he did. Like, yeah, it was a lot.
So much he did. And I guess the next one is Itachi, though. So, this is Edo Itachi? Or, like, what Itachi?
Okay, so if we're saying, like, the sick Itachi that was, like, barely hanging on against Sasuke, then, yeah, obviously this Sasuke wins, right? But, if it's Edo Itachi, that's a different story, and we can talk about that later. But, sick Itachi, yeah, like, EMS Sasuke is so much more powerful than heavy Sasuke.
Yeah.
It's not even funny.
The best way to explain it is, like, the fact that he's scaling to, like, KCM Naruto.
Right. A more advanced version who has, like, the little collar poking up and everything.
Yeah,
not
like
even, the
KCM
normal
2, right? Like the big boy one. He's
KCM,
like, scaling...
it's kind of in the middle, almost, like...
Yeah, I guess, yeah. We'll say KCM 1.5. He's scaling to that.
Yeah.
And, before, like, Sasuke wasn't even, like, scratching at Pain's, like, nuts, right? Like, he wasn't...
Yeah.
He wasn't even close to Pain. And this Naruto would, like, run circles.
He literally blitzes the Raikage, right? Like, blitzes the Raikage or whatever. He's so strong, he can, like, almost solo the whole war by himself.
His natural speed is compared to, like, Minato's teleportation.
Yeah. and then Sasuke not only scales to above that, but he scales to a Naruto who was then, like, defending the Shinobi Alliance against Madara and Obito and the Ten Tails at the same time.
This is, like, so when you look at this, like, picture, it's, like, very cool, but when you look at it from, like, a scaler's perspective, it's really funny. Like you got, like, the Ten Tails is doing this, like, world ender attack. Like, it's literally called the Cataclysm, and it's, like, blowing up the whole battlefield and sending, like, tornadoes and earthquakes
like,
and
blows
shit
up
there.
the continent.
Yeah, like, zooms out of the whole continent and, like, everything's getting devastated. And then it just, like, zooms in, Naruto's just standing there.
Yeah,
in
and he protected everyone. Like,
yeah, he, used all his chakra to protect everyone, and they're, like, not even scratched, and Naruto's, like, bleeding. And it's like, wait, and, like, Sasuke's on par with this?
Yeah. And it's like 5 Kage Summit just gets mopped. Like, and if we're using, like, Edo Itachi, who actually scales above that Sasuke, because Sasuke didn't get any stronger from the Kabuto fight, because he actually barely, because what people don't know is that, like, that illusion that Itachi cast was a lot earlier than people think. Like, that fight wasn't as long as you might think.
Yeah.
So, like, Sasuke didn't, like, really adapt or have a lot of training to get stronger. So it's pretty implied he's the same. And during that encounter, it's implied Itachi is stronger than him.
Well, it's not even implied. It's blatantly shown. Like, Itachi's just better.
Yeah, he's, like, protecting him. He's doing most of the work versus Kabuto. He's, like, smarter. He has, like, all the plans figured out. It's heavily shown Itachi is great.
And, like,
right?
Kabuto's, like, bullying. Like, making fun of him.
Yeah. So... Yeah, and Kabuto's like, yeah, if I get Itachi under my control, like, Sasuke's just dead, like, immediately.
Yeah,
it's...
like, Sasuke, that was an unwinnable situation for him.
It does kind of suck because it killed the hype for EMS Sasuke, because that was supposed to be his introductory fight, and you had Itachi do all the work, which, look, I like Itachi as much as the next guy. He's one of my favorite characters, but that should have been Sasuke's fight. I mean, Itachi could still contribute, he could still do the Izanami, but that should have been Sasuke's fight. Okay, you just introduced him with this EMS that you've been hyping up for a while, and the first chance he gets to use it, he barely does anything. I mean, come on.
So, yeah.
And then there's Obito as well, and I don't know what Obito we're using exactly.
I feel like literally any Obito. probably like might still win because like
Obito is a beast.
Kamui's like busted.
Yeah.
Like it's so stupid. And Obito has Izanagi for even if Sasuke does somehow kill him with Kamui.
The only thing I can imagine that's a problem is like Sasuke's stamina with his Susanoo, but it might be implied that Obito has more stamina than Sasuke does.
Well,
but
he does
with
have
EMS,
half of
it
his
might
body
be
made of
difficult to,
Hashirama
like, get
cells,
through
so.
Susanoo. But five Kage Summit without a doubt. I do think Orange Mask Obito does take it. I think Obito was still kind of trying to flex on him even during the Kage Summit as well.
We've also talked about Obito's durability before, but I feel like his durability went down with the Rinnegan because he could like barely handle it.
Yeah.
Right? Like he was like, yeah, man.
Well,
if I put it in two, I'll like.
His durability wasn't even bad. I mean, if you think about it.
No, I'm not saying it
like,
was bad. I'm just saying like based on the way he like talks about the Rinnegan, he's like, this is like.
Think about this, right? He gets headbutted by KCM2 Naruto and then takes like a Rasengan from KCM2 Naruto to his back or something.
Yeah.
He's kind of a beast.
No. That's what I'm like gonna get into, right? Like I'm saying that Obito's durability is like nerfed by the Rinnegan. It's like basically it's like Kakashi with like the Land of Waves thing, where like the Mangekyo Sharingan at the beginning of Shippuden thing, but like he like literally cannot turn it off because it's a Rinnegan. Like, so it's sort of like that. Like this is the way I'm looking at it, right? So he's like kind of taxing himself like really bad for chakra, and he survives like that whole fight with Naruto and B. And then Kakashi and Guy show up. And then the whole Ninja Alliance shows up. And then he becomes the Jinchuriki of the Ten Tails. And then like all the Biju get like split apart and ripped out of him at the same time. And like every other Jinchuriki dies from this. Like Kushina and Uzumaki dies from this, having the Nine Tails extracted from her. Obito has every Biju extracted from him at the same time. Yeah, fine. Okay. And then he like goes and like fights Madara and like some other shit, and like has Zetsu just like clinging on to him and like fucking with his body, and like has like, you know, like goes into like the Kamui dimension and has like the Rinnegan ripped out of him, and then like Madara messes with him and like all this crazy stuff, and it takes Kaguya literally shooting an instant kill disintegration attack into him to kill him, right? So I think his durability and stamina are pretty good. I think like the thing is, those are like War Arc Obito feats. So the reason I brought up the Rinnegan thing is I don't feel like that would amp his stamina. I feel like if anything that would lower it.
It would kind of take away from, because the Rinnegan does require a lot of chakra.
Orange Mask Obito. The only difference being he's stronger, so like physical attacks maybe, you know, don't include them as much, but like.
Well, let me point this out as well. I mean, Minato did say, yeah, you're gonna have to master the Nine Tails chakra to fight that guy.
Yeah.
So I mean,
and that was like 14-year-old Obito, like kid.
So I mean,
Obito.
I don't think it's like absurd, really. I mean, like I'd probably say based on feats, EMS probably beats Orange Mask, but I can see what you're saying, and there is like a narrative implication there as well. But obviously, all of them then just get murked without difficulty by Rinnegan Sasuke.
Oh yeah, easy.
Yeah, that's the thing. Rinnegan Sasuke, you know, takes out the whole Akatsuki by himself. Like he just Chibaku Tensei's
like,
them.
You think Obito's tough? Like give Obito the Ten Tails, and Sasuke would probably just chop him in half and then kill him. Like,
no, Sasuke would like replace all the Akatsuki with Jubitos.
No. Don't
Sasuke's
even. Just make every single Akatsuki member a Ten Tails Jinchuriki, and they still get one-shotted by Rinnegan Sasuke.
Yeah. No, he would do to them what he did to the Biju, just Chibaku Tensei, bam.
Yeah, or what he did to Ten Tails Madara already, before he absorbed the God Tree.
And then he would absorb their chakra and get stronger, yeah.
Well, no, that was after he absorbed the God Tree.
Yeah, even if they were all 10 Tails Jinchuriki, they'd lose to Rinnegan Sasuke. And I think that's really all we need to say. It's a 50-minute video.
What do you think? Let me know in the comments. Are you mad? Do you think Kakazu would win?
What makes you guys salty? Tell us down below.
Do you think Kakazu would win? I
don't know. Yeah. So maybe you think part 1's a beast. Maybe there's some Boruto scaling.
Please don't. Please don't bring Boruto into this. No one wants to talk about Boruto. So, okay, that's the video. Wow, this was a long video. So yeah, look, I'm just gonna end it right here. I don't think I need to say anything else because this video is already long enough as it is. So just let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Remember, like, share, subscribe, all that stuff. You know what it is. and I hope to see you for the next video. Bye for now.